Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving straight into the archives of the WAEC Biology 2026 exam to master a really high-yield concept. We're breaking down a specific question from the QandAHelp library that honestly trips a lot of people up. And our goal is to turn these scattered past questions into crystal clear understanding. Let's get started. All right, let's get right to the challenge in front of us. WAEC Biology question 13. Here's what it says. A potted plant was placed in an experimental setup to measure the rate of water loss in plants. A structure in the plant that is primarily responsible for water loss is A. Spongy mesophyll, B. Root, C. Stomata, D. Palisade mesophyll. Now, whenever you face a multiple-choice setup like this, the secret really isn't rushing to the answer. It's about breaking down the exact mechanics of what's actually being asked.
So, what's the crucial point here? It's isolating this exact phrase, primarily responsible for water loss. By zooming in on this, we know exactly what we're hunting for. We aren't just looking for any random plant part, right? We're specifically looking for the plant's main exit route for water. Basically, what's the primary structure that allows water to escape the plant and enter the environment? Keeping this highlighted phrase front and center will make eliminating the wrong options literally so much easier. To find our answer, let's trace the journey of a single water drop through a plant. It's kind of like a giant plumbing system. It all begins in the soil. Step 1, we have soil water. Step 2, the root absorbs that water. Then, step 3, the plant's internal pipes, a highly specialized tissue called the xylem, carries that water upward, fighting completely against gravity to reach the leaves. And finally, in step 4, some of that water changes into water vapor inside the leaf and actually escapes into the air. Our question is asking about the specific structure where that final escape happens. Now, before we evaluate the specific options, let's define a totally crucial term, stomata. I want you to think of stomata as tiny, adjustable doorways located mainly on the surface of the leaves. Just like doors in a building can open to let people out and close to keep them in, these microscopic pores can open up to let gases and water vapor escape and close right up to conserve water when the plant is dry. Seriously, keep that visual in your head. Tiny, adjustable doorways on the leaf. Okay, let's break down option A, the spongy mesophyll. If you look at a cross-section of a leaf, the spongy mesophyll contains these loosely packed, moist cells with a bunch of air spaces between them. Now, these air spaces are absolutely fantastic for assisting internal gas movement inside the leaf. But here's the catch. They are internal. They are not the main external opening or pore through which water vapor actually leaves the leaf. Because our question specifically asks for the structure responsible for water loss to the outside, we can confidently cross option A off our list. Moving on to option B, the root. Now, think back to our little water journey from a few moments ago. The root's primary job is to take water into the plant from the soil. It's this brilliant absorption system that kicks off the whole shebang. But remember, the question is asking for the structure responsible for water loss, the exit point. Since the root is the entry point and absolutely not an exit structure, option B is definitely incorrect. Next up, let's examine option D, the palisade mesophyll. These are tightly packed column-like cells located right near the upper surface of the leaf, and they are packed totally full of chloroplasts. Why? Well, because they are mainly adapted for catching light and carrying out photosynthesis, the process of making food for the plant. They are way too busy absorbing sunlight to act as the primary exit doors for water vapor. Therefore, option D is out too. And this brilliantly brings us to why option C is our correct answer. Stomata are the main external pores on the leaves. They are the exact structures that control most of the plant's water loss. When we talk about water escaping the plant as vapor, it's traveling right through these tiny adjustable doorways. Option C perfectly matches our search for the primary exit route. Bingo! Let's do a quick recap just to lock in the functions of all these plant structures for your future exams. So, to summarize, the root absorbs water. The xylem transports that water upward. The palisade mesophyll is all about photosynthesis. The spongy mesophyll handles internal gas movement. And the stomata, our absolute star of the day, releases water vapor. Knowing these distinct functions off the top of your head is going to save you so much time on exam day. To make sure this really sticks, I'm going to give you a highly reliable exam shortcut. Whenever a question asks for the main structure responsible for water loss from leaves, I want you to instantly think tiny leaf pores. And what are those tiny leaf pores? Stomata. Associating water loss directly with stomata is a simple mental trigger, but let me tell you, it works practically every single time. All right, let's test this concept in a slightly different context. Here's a quick quiz for you. The loss of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant is called A. Respiration, B. Transpiration, C. Germination, or D. Pollination. Take just a second to lock in your answer, keeping in mind the process we literally just spent the last few minutes discussing. Okay, if you guessed option B, transpiration, you are absolutely correct. Great job. Transpiration is the biological term for this exact process, the loss of water vapor mainly through the stomata of leaves. It's essentially the plant sweating. Understanding this key vocabulary word is just as absolutely crucial as knowing the structures themselves. Let's try one more. Now we know these microscopic doorways open and close, but what actually operates them? Let's dive one layer deeper. Which cells control the opening and closing of a stoma? Is it A, guard cells, B, root hair cells, C, palisade cells, or D, xylem vessels? Think carefully about what might be operating these doorways. Go ahead and choose your answer.
And the correct answer is A, guard cells. I like to think of guard cells as the security bouncers standing on either side of the stomatal doorway. They are specialized cells that actually change their shape, swelling up to open the pore or shrinking to close it right off. They actively control how much water vapor is allowed to escape, protecting the plant from drying out completely. Pretty cool, right? Well, that about wraps up this concept. You can find more detailed explanations and a huge library of past questions for WASEC, JAMB, and NICO over at QandAHelp.com. But before you go, I want you to ponder this. Based on what we just uncovered, how do you think a plant living in a scorching, bone-dry desert might adapt its stomata to survive the extreme heat? Think about those tiny doorways. What would they need to do differently? Let me know what you think. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next explainer.